The bills hit the checkered floor before they hit her tray. Tina King, 22, a waitress at a vintage American hamburger diner, with red vinyl booths and a humming jukebox by the corner. Black, beautiful, slender, the white apron tied tight at her waist, a folded architecture school bill in the front pocket. Second night in a row. Her mother works double shifts. Her little brothers need new sneakers. She smiles anyway. Then Patricia Whitmore walks in, blonde, white silk blouse with pink piping, a congressman's daughter who has never worked a day. Two friends behind her, one filming, one laughing. The hamburger comes back once, twice, 3 times. Some people are lucky this kind of job is the most they can do. The diner stops chewing. In the corner booth, a man in a low black cap sets his coffee cup down with deliberate slowness. Black leather jacket, Korean. A dragon tattoo coiling up the right side of his neck. Hanja characters running down the left. Tribal bands wrapping behind his ear. Kang Deo, the silent wolf. Nobody in that diner knows his name yet. Nobody knows what he owns. Patricia pulls out the cash, soda-stained, greasy, and throws it at Tina. The bills miss the tray. The diner holds its breath. Then a voice from the corner, quiet as a closed door. Do not touch those bills. And what Tina didn't know was who had been watching her shift the entire night. Before starting the story, comment down below where you are watching from and what time it is there. If stories of karma, love, and hidden truths move you, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a member and help our channel. The unpaid tuition bill was folded twice in the deep front pocket of the white apron, pressed flat against the small order pad and the short yellow pencil, and Tina King could feel its corner every time she moved. 6:47 on a Tuesday evening, second night in a row of the closing shift, and the back corridor of the diner smelled like grilled onions and old fryer, oil and the lemon spray Walter used on the counters when no one was looking. She tied the apron strings into a clean bow at the small of her back, smoothed the red vintage waitress dress over the corset bodice, and exhaled once through her nose. Her honey-toned skin caught the warm yellow light from the bulb above the prep door. The thin silver chain at her throat sat under the collar where no one would notice it. The phone in her hand buzzed. Marlene, she answered with the screen against her ear and her free hand already pulling a tray off the rack. Mama, baby. Her mother's voice was the texture of a folded sheet. I hate to ask. The boys need shoes. The little one's toe is sticking out the front of his sneaker, and Mrs. Alvarez says they're checking uniforms tomorrow. Tina looked down at the apron pocket. The bill corner showed white through the linen. I have it, Mama. You sure? I have it. I'll bring it Friday. Lord bless you, baby. Go lie down. Don't wait up. She slid the phone into the pocket beside the pad and the bill and the pencils, and stepped out onto the checkered floor. The neon in the window threw a cold blue stripe across the chrome counter stools. The jukebox in the corner glowed orange and red, a slow doo-wop turning on its turntable, the kind of song that made strangers tap fingers on a coffee cup without noticing they were doing it. Booth 4 was a family of 5, 2 kids on booster seats, a milkshake already sweating on the laminate. Tina smiled the smile that had carried her through 2 years of evenings and walked over. Welcome in. What can I get started for you tonight? The mother ordered for the children first. The smaller boy was drawing on his placemat with a broken crayon, and Tina leaned over and added a little square house with a triangle roof in the corner of his page. 2 windows, a chimney, a single line of smoke. The boy looked up at her like she had performed a magic trick. That's our house? That's whoever wants to live in it, she said. The mother smiled. The father ordered the double cheeseburger medium and asked for extra pickles on the side. Tina wrote it all on the pad in her tight architectural hand and slid the pencil back behind her ear and turned, and her eyes caught for half a second on the corner booth. He had been there since 6. Black leather jacket, low black cap pulled forward over his eyes. A white coffee cup turning slowly between 2 fingers. He was not looking at her. He was looking, through the window's blue neon glow, at a man on the sidewalk who was speaking too quickly into a phone, a man in a brown coat, who kept checking his watch like the watch was lying to him. The man in the corner booth had not touched his coffee in 20 minutes. He had only turned the cup, Tina had noticed, because noticing was part of the job. She had not noticed the tattoos yet. The cap shadowed them, and the collar of the leather jacket was zipped halfway, and from where she stood he was only a quiet shape against red vinyl. She passed his table on the way to the kitchen window and slid the order ticket across the chrome. Walter Hensley was leaning on the pass with his belly pressed against the counter, watery blue eyes behind thin wire glasses, name tag crooked on his white shirt. He scanned the ticket and grunted. Family of 5 at 4. Move it, sweetheart. I want them turned by 8. Yes, Walt. She did not call him sir. She had stopped that a long time ago. He was the kind of man who watched everything and intervened in nothing. And she had learned to keep her courtesy clean and shallow with him, no deeper than the laminate. Back at the counter, she refilled the family's water glasses from a sweating pitcher. She straightened a salt shaker. She wiped a smear of ketchup off the edge of booth 2 with a damp rag and rinsed the rag in the bus tub. Between motions, she slipped the pad out of the apron pocket and, on the bottom margin of a fresh page, sketched another little house. A square, a triangle roof, 2 windows. She added a porch this time, a 2nd floor, a dormer. The pencil moved without permission. Architecture school had a way of leaking out of her hand whenever her hand had a free second. She put the pad away before Walter could lean around the corner and see it, and ask, in that wet, patient voice of his, whether her drawings paid the rent. The little brass bell over the front door rang at 7:14. Tina was at the coffee station refilling a carafe, and she looked up because the bell was a working part of her brain by now. 3 women came in on a wave of perfume and laughter. The one in front had platinum blonde hair falling perfectly straight past her shoulders in a sleek center part, blue eyes lined heavy, glossy pink lipstick, a white silk blouse with delicate pink piping, a pastel pink pencil skirt fitted to the knee, white stiletto heels with red soles clicking sharply on the checkered floor. A white designer handbag with gold chains swung from the crook of her elbow. Thin gold bracelets stacked on her right wrist, pearl studs. Patricia Whitmore knew exactly how she walked into a room. Behind her, Brittany Cole, dirty blonde curls and a cream-cropped knit, and a small designer crossbody. Already laughing at something Patricia had said outside. And Vanessa Reed, taller, thinner, light brown hair, sheer white blouse over a nude camisole, high-waisted pink trousers, oversized white sunglasses pushed up on her head, phone already up at chest height, camera light blinking red, filming. They drifted toward the booth nearest the jukebox, like they had owned the diner before they walked in. Tina set the carafe down on the warmer with both hands, on purpose because her wrist had decided to be unsteady for 1 second. Then she picked up the pad and the pencil and walked over with the professional warmth that had become a second uniform. Welcome in, ladies. Sit anywhere you like. Can I start you off with something to drink? Patricia slid into the vinyl and crossed her legs at the ankle and looked up. The smile was already prepared. Diet Coke. With lime. Real lime, not that little plastic wedge thing. Of course. Just water, Brittany said, eyes on her phone. Sparkling, Vanessa added, the camera now tilted up at Tina's face from waist level. And can you, hold the menus up so we can see them on camera? It's for the vlog. Sure. Tina held the laminated menus out at the angle Vanessa wanted. She kept her face calm. She had been filmed before. She would be filmed again. The pencil sat behind her ear. Patricia was watching her. The blue eyes moved from the apron to the dress to the silver chain at her throat, to the small house drawn on the pad's edge, visible for a half second as Tina shifted her grip. "So," Patricia said sweetly, "how long have you been working here?" 2 years. Ah, a soft little syllable, head tilted, lower lip pushed out the smallest fraction. "That's so sad." Brittany snorted into her hand. Vanessa's camera dipped toward Patricia and back to Tina and held there. Tina did not flinch. She kept the menus up at the angle the camera wanted. She kept the smile professional and shallow as a saucer. "I'll be right back with the drinks." She turned, and the checkered floor was clean and even, and the neon was warm and cold at once on her shoulders, and somewhere across the room, in the corner booth, a porcelain coffee cup was being set down on its saucer with deliberate, audible slowness. Tina did not look. She walked to the soda gun. She filled the Diet Coke, sliced a real lime fresh from the cutting board behind the counter, dropped the wedge in, filled the water with no ice because Brittany had not specified. And quiet courtesy was its own armor. She set the sparkling water on the tray with a clean lemon twist. Her hand was steady. Her hand had to be steady. The apron pocket pressed the tuition bill against her hip with every step. In the corner booth, the man in the black leather jacket had stopped turning his cup. He had stopped watching the man in the brown coat on the swaswad-walk. The brown coat man was no longer the subject of the evening. The low black cap was still pulled forward, but the angle of his head had changed by perhaps 4 degrees, and the angle was now pointed at the booth by the jukebox. The white coffee cup sat untouched on the saucer. His hand rested beside it, dark-veined back, a thin black steel watch on the left wrist. No rings, the knuckles relaxed. Not yet. Tina lifted the tray and turned and walked the drinks across the checkered floor toward Patricia Whitmore's smile, and the pad with the little house drawn on its edge rode against her hip in the apron pocket, like a small, stubborn promise she had not yet had time to name. Patricia took the drinks without looking up, slid the straw between her glossy pink lips, and made a small face. She set the glass back down with a soft click that landed louder than it should have in the warm yellow light of the diner. "Sweetie," Patricia said, voice gentle as a knife wrapped in silk, "I think we're going to need to start over." "Brittany, what did you order again?" Brittany pretended to think, one finger tapping her cream knit cropped top. "Classic burger, no pickles, extra cheese, fries well done." "And I asked for no sauce," Patricia said. "Right? I'm pretty sure I said no sauce." Tina lifted the pad from her apron pocket. The little house she had drawn in the margins sat there in pencil, crooked roof and a square window, the only soft thing on the page. She read her own handwriting back, slow and clear. "You asked for the deluxe with extra sauce on the side, ma'am. Did I?" Patricia tilted her head. "I really don't think I did, Vanessa. Was I unclear?" Vanessa lifted her phone a little higher. "You were super clear, babe. You said no sauce. I heard it." The lie sat in the air between them like a perfume too strong for the room. Tina did not blink. She tucked the pad back into the apron pocket, fingertips brushing the folded tuition bill underneath, and she felt the paper there the way a soldier feels a letter from home. "I'll have the kitchen remake it," Tina said. "No sauce. Just a minute." At the corner booth, the man in the black cap set his coffee cup down on the saucer with deliberate care, the porcelain making a sound smaller than a heartbeat. The collar of his black leather jacket shifted as he turned his head a degree, and a sliver of the black dragon tattoo, climbing the right side of his neck, caught the cold blue glow from the window. The hanja characters running vertical down the left side of his throat stayed in shadow. He no longer watched the man 2 booths over. He watched Patricia. In the kitchen, Tina did not slam the ticket on the wheel. She set it down. She wrote "no sauce" in block letters at the top, underlined it twice, and walked away before her hands could remember to shake. 3 minutes later, she brought the new plate. Patricia looked at the burger, lifted the bun, examined the patty as though it were a witness in court. "Oh, honey," Patricia said. "Now there's no sauce at all. I wanted a little on the side." "I said on the side. Did I not say on the side?" Brittany covered her mouth with one French-tipped hand and laughed into her palm. "You said no sauce, ma'am," Tina said quietly. "Are you arguing with me?" Patricia's blue eyes went wide, performance pretty. "I'm not arguing with you, sweetie. I'm telling you what I wanted. There's a difference." People in customer service should know the difference. At the counter, Walter Hensley adjusted his thin wire glasses and discovered a sudden urgent interest in the soda machine. He bent at the waist, peered into the chrome panel, tapped a dial that did not need tapping. The cheap silver watch on his wrist caught the neon. His name tag, Walt Manager, hung crooked on the breast pocket of his white short-sleeve shirt. Patricia snapped her fingers. The sound cut across the checkered floor. A father in a far booth flinched and looked up from his fries. His two small children went still the way small animals go still when something larger moves nearby. "Sweetie, over here. Try again." At the corner booth, the man in the black cap closed his right hand around the coffee cup. It was not a grip a man makes when he intends to drink. The black steel watch on his left wrist did not move. His shoulders did not lift. Only the hand changed, the knuckles whitening one shade, the dragon at the collarbone shifting a fraction as the leather of the jacket pulled across his chest. Tina carried the plate back. The grill cook met her eyes and said nothing. She wrote sauce on the side in block letters and underlined it 3 times this time and waited the 4 minutes it took without sitting down. When she returned, the small ramekin sat next to the burger like a peace offering. Patricia dipped one French fry into the sauce, took a delicate bite, and her face arranged itself into a slow, sad disappointment. "Oh no," she said. "Oh, sweetie, you really didn't understand my complicated order, did you, honey?" The word honey landed like a slap with no hand behind it. Vanessa's phone tilted to catch Tina's face. Brittany laughed again, louder now, the sound bright and ugly against the hum of the jukebox. "What's wrong with it, ma'am?" Tina asked, and her voice was the voice of every woman who has ever decided in the same second that she will not cry until she is alone. "I asked for the deluxe sauce. This is the regular sauce. They're completely different. Honestly, I don't even know how someone could confuse them. Did you go to school?" "It's okay if you didn't. Some people just learn differently." Walter cleared his throat at the counter. He did not turn around. He pushed the dial on the soda machine in a circle and did not turn around. The family, too, booths over, stopped eating. The mother put her hand on the smaller child's wrist. The father set his burger down with the slow, careful movement of a man who has just understood that the room he is sitting in has changed temperature. Tina took a breath through her nose. She straightened the white apron at her waist. She felt the folded bill in the pocket against her hip and the little pencil-drawn house on the order pad, and she set her jaw with a quiet click that only she could hear. "I'll bring the deluxe sauce, ma'am." "Bring all the sauces," Patricia said sweetly. "Just to be safe, we don't want any more mistakes." In the corner booth, the man in the black cap lifted his cup, sipped once, set it back down, and his hand returned to the porcelain and closed around it again. The cap brim shadowed his eyes. Beneath the brim, his mouth had not moved. The tribal pattern wrapping the back of his neck rose half an inch above the leather collar when he set the cup down, 3 black bands curling toward the spot behind his ear. Tina returned with 4 small ramekins on a round tray. She set each one down without a sound. Deluxe, regular, garlic aioli, honey mustard. She placed them in a neat row in front of Patricia like a hand of cards. "Anything else, ma'am?" Patricia studied the row of sauces. She picked one. She dipped a fry. She chewed. She swallowed. She leaned back against the red vinyl of the booth, dabbed the corner of her glossy pink mouth with a napkin. and let the silence stretch until even the jukebox in the corner seemed to lower its voice. Then she smiled, wide, sweet, full teeth. "Wow," Patricia said. "You actually got it right this time. Good job, sweetie. I'm proud of you." She let the words sit. She made sure the diner heard them. Then she said, louder, casting her voice across the checkered floor like a stone skipping a still pond. "Relax, everyone. I know this kind of work is probably the best some people can do. We should be encouraging." The diner stopped breathing. The father 2 booths over set his hand flat on the table. The mother's eyes went very wide and did not move. The 2 small children watched their parents to know what their faces should do. At the counter, Walter took a sudden, intense interest in a dial he had already adjusted twice and bent lower, lower, until the back of his balding head with its thin gray combed sideways hair caught the overhead light. He did not turn. He would not turn. Tina lowered the tray. She did not slam it. She set it on the edge of Patricia's table with both hands, and she held it there a long beat as though the metal were the only thing keeping her standing. The fluorescents over the counter buzzed in the silence. The neon at the window painted one half of her face in cold blue. Her eyes went wet. Not tears falling, just the surface of them, a thin shine that caught the warm yellow overhead and refused to spill. The pad in her apron pocket pressed against her hip, the folded tuition bill pressed against the pad, the little pencil house pressed against both. In the corner booth, the man in the black leather jacket closed his hand around the coffee cup and did not let go. His dark, cold eyes lifted from beneath the brim of the cap and found Patricia Whitmore's face across the warm yellow length of the diner. He held her there, in the line of his attention, the way a man holds a name he intends to remember. He had decided 3 insults ago that this young woman in the white and pink outfit was going to learn the sound of authority before she left this building. He had decided it the second time Patricia said the word sweetie. He had only been waiting, with the patient stillness of a man who owns the room he is sitting in, for the moment that would justify what was already going to happen. The viewer, somewhere in the warm dark on the other side of the screen, felt the floor tilt 1 degree. This was not the story of a bad tip. This was the story of the silent man in the corner booth and the inheritance of an old tailor in Seoul who had served working women for free his whole life, and a code passed down a bloodline that did not bend in a vintage American diner under cold blue neon at 7:38 on a Tuesday night. The man at the corner booth was not who he appeared to be, and Patricia Whitmore, smiling her wide pink smile into Vanessa's live stream, did not yet know that the room she had walked into belonged in every way that mattered to him. Patricia let the silence sit. She enjoyed it the way some people enjoy a song they paid to hear. Brittany lowered her eyes to her cream-cropped top and pretended to brush a crumb that was not there. Vanessa kept her phone raised, the lens angled so the live stream caught Tina's face and not her own. The vintage jukebox in the corner clicked between songs and refused to fill the room with anything kind. Tina did not move for a moment. The tray hung in her right hand. The small white order pad pressed against her hip through the pocket of the crisp white apron, the corner of the unpaid tuition bill folded beside it. She felt the eyes of the family at the next booth, the eyes of the 2 truckers at the counter, the eyes of the man in the corner booth, whose black leather collar had begun to reveal the edge of the dragon along his collarbone. She did not look at him. She looked at Patricia. "Will there be anything else, miss?" Her voice came out clean. 2 years of evening shifts had taught her how to hold a voice steady while something inside shook. Patricia tilted her platinum blonde head and smiled the slow, glossy smile she used in her sponsored posts. "Check, please." Tina nodded once. She walked to the chrome counter, tore the ticket from the pad, set the total under the white ceramic saucer, and carried it back across the black and white checkered floor. Each step sounded loud. The neon sign in the window threw a cold blue line across the red vinyl of the booth and across Patricia's pale wrist. Tina placed the saucer at the edge of the table. "Whenever you're ready." Patricia did not pick up the check. She reached into her white designer handbag with the gold chain straps, the visible logo angled toward Vanessa's lens, and she pulled out a small fold of bills. They were not crisp. They had been at the bottom of the bag with the lip glosses and the open straw wrappers. The top bill was smeared dark along one edge where soda had dried into the paper. The second one had a thumbprint of grease where a fry had been pressed against it. She did not count them. She did not place them on the saucer. She held them between two French tip fingernails, lifted her wrist, and tossed. The bills traveled the short distance through the warm yellow overhead light and the cold blue from the window and fell. They missed the tray. They missed the table. They landed near Tina's low-heeled black comfort shoes on the checkered floor, fanning open across the squares. "Pick it up," Patricia said. Her voice stayed soft the way she had practiced. "There's your tip. You should thank me, sweetie. People like you live off this, don't you?" Brittany did not laugh this time. Vanessa's phone trembled and steadied. The family at the next booth stopped chewing. The trucker on the third stool set his coffee mug down without drinking from it. Walter, behind the counter, suddenly found the lever of the refrigerator very interesting and bent to inspect it. Tina tightened her grip on the tray until the knuckles of her honey-toned hand turned pale at the edges. She felt the heat climb her slender neck under the thin silver chain, climb across her well-defined collarbones, reach her cheekbones where the natural light blush was already burning. Her large, dark eyes filled once, and she blinked the water back before it could fall. She would not give Patricia that. She bent. Her knees angled toward the floor in the red vintage Waitress dress, the corset bodice pressed against her ribs, her free hand lowered toward the nearest dirty bill. A voice cut from the corner booth. "Don't touch those bills." The words were quiet. They were not raised. They did not need to be. They crossed the diner the way a blade crosses water, and the room obeyed before anyone decided to obey. Tina froze with her fingers 6 inches above the checkered floor. Patricia's smile bent at one corner without breaking. Vanessa swung the phone toward the corner booth and stopped breathing through her nose. Kang Deo slid out of the booth. He set the low black cap on the table behind him as he rose, and the warm yellow light of the diner finally reached the skin above the collar of his black leather jacket. The Korean dragon coiled up the right side of his neck, its scales meeting the open top buttons of the black button-down, where another length of ink curled toward the collarbone. The Hanja characters ran vertically along the left side of his throat in a clean black column. The tribal bands wrapped around the back of his neck and rose behind his right ear in dark, sharp lines. His black hair was short and sharply cut. His face was clean-shaven, the jawline hard. His dark eyes carried no temperature at all. Walter, behind the counter, went the color of the white refrigerator lever in his hand. He had stopped pretending. Deo walked. The black leather boots made no sound on the checkered floor. He did not hurry. He stopped at the side of Patricia's booth, close enough that the gold chain straps of her handbag were level with his thin black steel watch, and he looked down at her without bending. "And you are?" Patricia said. She tried to laugh. The laugh came out half a breath short. "Someone who has watched everything since you walked in. Then you watched a waitress getting paid. I watched a woman trying to humiliate another woman because she thinks her father's last name protects her lack of character." Brittany leaned across the booth. Her dirty blonde curls swung forward. She put her mouth close to Patricia's ear, and her voice came out thin and tight. "The work of a girl whose father is a corporate lawyer and who has heard certain names spoken in certain rooms. Patricia, That's Kang Deo. The color left Patricia's face in one motion. The contour stayed, the false lashes stayed. The glossy pink smile stayed for one more second, out of pure muscle memory, before the muscles understood what the brain had already understood, and then it fell, and the pale skin under the makeup went the shade of the white silk blouse. Vanessa's hand shook. The live stream kept rolling. The little red dot on her screen reflected in her wide hazel eyes. Deo did not look at Brittany. He did not look at Vanessa. He looked at Patricia. Kneel. The word landed once and stayed where it landed. Pick up each bill, place them on the tray, and apologize. Patricia's pale lips parted. She tried for the soft voice she used on Walter, on professors, on doormen. I don't think you understand who my... Deo lifted his left hand. His thin black steel watch caught the cold blue from the window. He turned the screen of his phone toward her with the calm of a man passing a menu, and on it, Patricia saw a contact card. Congressman H. Whitmore. The number was a private one. It was not the office line her father gave to donors. It was the line he kept in the drawer of the desk in the back study. Or would you prefer, Deo said, that I ask your father whether he would like to resolve this here or in tomorrow's papers? Patricia made a small sound. It was not a word. It came from somewhere under the contour and the pearls and the pastel pink pencil skirt. Brittany pressed back against the red vinyl, as if she could fold herself into it and disappear. Vanessa lowered the phone an inch and lifted it again, because she had remembered that the live stream was the only thing in the room that could prove she had only filmed. Patricia moved. She slid out of the booth. The white stiletto heels with red soles touched the checkered floor. Her knees, in the fitted pastel pink pencil skirt, lowered. The skirt rode up an inch and she did not adjust it. The stacked gold bracelets on her right wrist clinked once as she reached toward the first dirty bill. Her fingers were shaking. She picked up the soda-stained note. Her French tip nails left a small dent in the paper. She placed it on Tina's tray. She picked up the bill with the grease thumbprint. She placed it on the tray. She picked up the third, the fourth, the fifth, each one with the same trembling care, until every bill she had thrown at Tina's feet sat in a small, fanned stack on the round black tray. She stayed on her knees. Deo did not move. Tina did not move. The jukebox stayed silent between songs. Walter, behind the counter, was breathing through his open mouth. Patricia lifted her face. The platinum blonde hair fell forward across the white silk blouse. 2 streaks of black mascara had begun to slide from the corners of her blue eyes through the heavy contour. I'm sorry. Her voice cracked on the first word and she said it again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for trying to humiliate you. You didn't deserve that. Tina looked down at her. The red vintage dress, the crisp white apron with the unpaid tuition bill folded inside, the small white order pad with the little house she had sketched in the margin between tables. All of it stayed perfectly still. The tray with the dirty bills did not tilt in her hand. She let 3 full seconds pass. She did not perform them. She simply lived in them. Then she answered, in the same clean voice she had used to take the order. I know. Patricia's shoulders dropped. The breath she had been holding left her in a thin shudder. She stayed on her knees on the black and white checkered floor because no one had told her she could rise. And in that moment, in front of Vanessa's live stream and the family in the next booth, and the truckers at the counter, and the manager who had inspected a refrigerator while a woman was humiliated, the daughter of Congressman Howard Whitmore understood, perhaps for the first time in her 22 years, the precise sound of a room that no longer belonged to her. The diner did not breathe. The neon kept buzzing. The fryer kept ticking. Somewhere under the chrome counter, a coffee pot kept warm, and Tina King, with a tray of dirty bills in one steady hand, and the silent man with the dragon at his collar standing one step away, felt something in her chest that she had not felt in 2 years' double shifts and unpaid tuition. And her mother asleep on the couch with the gray cardigan slipping from her shoulders. She felt seen. She did not yet know who Kang Dao truly was. She did not yet know what he owned. She did not yet know what was already moving on the other end of the private line on his phone. She only knew that the room had bent, and that for the first time the bending had not been hers. Walter brought the security tapes himself. He carried them in both hands like a man carrying something that might bite. The small black drives nested on a folded paper napkin and set them on the chrome counter in front of Kang Dao without a word. His balding scalp shone under the warm overhead lights. Dao did not look at the drives. He looked at Walter. Every angle, from 7 until now, I copied them off the system. Nobody else touched them. Good. Dao slipped the drives into the inside pocket of his black leather jacket. The collar shifted. The Korean dragon, up the right side of his neck, slid into the yellow light. The Hanja characters along the left side caught the cold blue glow from the window, and the tribal bands behind his ear seemed to breathe with him. Patricia, still on her knees with the small pile of refolded bills on the tray, finally let herself look up. Her platinum blonde hair had fallen forward across one blue eye. Her glossy pink lipstick was smeared at the corner where she had wiped her mouth with the back of her French tip hand. He took the phone out of his pocket. He tapped one contact. He held the phone to his ear. He did not move from the center of the black and white checkered floor. Howard! The diner was so quiet, Tina could hear the tinny voice on the other end through the speaker, though she could not make out the words. She stood 3 steps behind Dao with the bandagina still in her hand, the white apron tied at her waist, the small order pad with the tiny pencil-drawn house still in the deep front pocket. Her hands had stopped shaking somewhere around the 3rd bill Patricia had picked up. She did not know when. "Your daughter," Dao said into the phone, "has just created a public problem in an establishment full of cameras. There is a live stream. There is a waitress in tears. There is a manager who will testify. Resolve it before I resolve it." A pause. The tinny voice rose. "I do not care what she meant. I care what she did." Another pause. 12 minutes, Howard. After that, the tapes go where they go. He ended the call. He slid the phone back into the inside pocket of the black leather jacket beside the drives. He did not raise his voice once. Patricia made a small sound. Not a word. Just air leaving a person who had finally understood the shape of the room she was kneeling in. Brittany had backed against the red vinyl of the booth, her cream knit cropped top riding up over her ribs, her green eyes wide and dry. Vanessa was still holding her phone, but the phone was pointed at the floor now, the live stream still rolling, the chat scrolling faster than any of them could read. The SUV arrived in 11 minutes. Black polished, the kind of black that drinks neon and gives nothing back. 2 men in charcoal suits stepped out. Neither looked at Dao. They did not need to. One opened the rear door. The other walked past the chrome counter stools, past the vintage jukebox glowing pink and gold in its corner, and stopped beside Patricia's booth. "Miss Whitmore." She rose on legs that did not trust the checkered floor. The pastel pink pencil skirt was wrinkled at the hip from kneeling. One white stiletto heel had scraped a faint mark on the tile. The man did not touch her. He gestured toward the door. She walked. Brittany and Vanessa followed without being asked. They did not make it to the SUV. The squad car had pulled into the lot from the other direction, quiet, no siren. Vanessa's live stream had reached the right desk 15 minutes earlier. 2 officers stepped out. The man in the charcoal suit lifted his hands an inch from his sides, palms open, and stepped aside. Patricia was read her rights against the white hood of the squad car. Disturbance. Verbal discrimination. Threat against an employee. The pearl stud earrings caught the streetlight as her head bowed. Brittany was held for a statement. Vanessa was held with her phone, the live stream now evidence. Inside the diner, the family in the front booth quietly went back to eating. Walter exhaled for what sounded like the first time in an hour. Deo turned to Walter. "From tonight on," he said, "any employee humiliated in this building has my protection. If it happens again and you pretend you did not see it, you lose the spot." Walter's watery blue eyes blinked behind the thin wire glasses. "The spot? I own this building." The words landed in the warm yellow light and the cold blue neon and did not move. Walter's mouth opened, closed, opened again. His soft, round belly rose and fell under the diner Lego shirt. Tina felt the floor under her low-heeled black comfort shoes change without changing. The corner booth. The lowered black cap on entry. The cup of coffee he had been nursing for 2 hours while watching another man at another table. The calm, the quiet. The way he had not eaten anything because he had not come here to eat. The information had been in plain sight the entire night, sitting in the booth nearest the jukebox, and the diner had walked past it carrying plates. Walter nodded slowly, the way a man nods when he is learning something he will never unlearn. Deo looked at Tina for the first time since the bills had hit the floor. "Pay her full shift," he said to Walter, without looking away from her. "Then send her home." Walter scrambled behind the counter. The register clicked. Bills were counted, not thrown. Tina took them in a white envelope. She did not look at the amount. She untied the white apron at her waist, with hands that finally remembered they belonged to her, folded it once, set it on the chrome counter beside the napkin dispenser. The little order pad with the pencil-drawn house she kept. She slid it into the pocket of her dress instead. Deo was gone from the dining room by the time she reached the back hallway. He was waiting in the back parking lot under the single loading dock light, standing far enough from the door that she would not feel cornered. The black leather jacket caught the harsh white bulb. The dragon on his neck looked carved. He held a manila folder in his left hand, the thin black steel watch on his wrist, catching the light at the same angle. She stopped 2 steps from him. The night air smelled of fryer grease and rain that had not arrived yet. He held out the folder. She took it and opened it under the dock light. Architecture tuition, 1 year, paid in full, receipt stapled to the inside cover. A renewal clause for the following year, contingent only on continued enrollment. A letter of internship from a partner firm, 3 days a week, paid, beginning whenever she was ready. Her hand began to tremble. The folder shook in her fingers. She closed it before the papers could fall. "Why?" she said. He did not move closer. "Because tonight I watched a woman try to make you lower your head, and you did not lower it." His voice was quiet, the same voice he had used on the phone with the congressman, the same voice he had used on Walter. "Build a house for your mother one day. That is enough." He turned. He did not look back. The black leather boots crossed the lot in unhurried steps. The black SUV pulled forward to meet him, and the door closed without sound. The dock light kept burning. Tina stood under it with the manila folder pressed flat against her chest, both hands holding it like a child holds something too precious to set down. She caught the late bus and walked the last 3 blocks. She let herself in at 1:42 a.m. Marlene was asleep on the couch, the thin gray cardigan slipping off one shoulder, the tired lines of her face softer than they had been in years. The 2 little brothers had built a tent out of a brown blanket on the carpet and fallen asleep inside it, 1 foot sticking out, the small gold cross from Marlene's necklace catching the lamp she had left on for Tina. Tina set the manila folder on the coffee table where her mother would see it first. She knelt in front of the couch and rested her forehead against her mother's knee. Marlene stirred, did not wake, only moved one hand in her sleep to rest on the back of her daughter's head, the way she had when Tina was 6 and frightened of the dark, Tina did not cry. She had used those tears earlier, on a checkered floor, on a tray that had not been hers to throw. She only stayed there, forehead against her mother's knee, for a long time, and for the first time in 2 years, what she saw when she closed her eyes was not a column of unpaid numbers, but a doorway with a porch and a railing she would design herself. Patricia Whitmore's name was in the papers by Thursday. The livestream had been clipped, captioned, and shared in 7 languages by Friday morning. Congressman Howard Whitmore was forced to issue a statement on the steps of his district office. Silver hair combed back, charcoal 3-piece suit, immaculate, sharp blue eyes refusing to meet any lens for longer than half a second. He used the word regret. He did not use his daughter's name. Deo passed the diner that week. The low black cap was pulled forward again. He did not come inside. He left a small envelope at the chrome counter with Walter, who carried it to Tina in the back hallway with both hands, the way he had carried the security tapes. There was no letter. There was a key and an address, and 3 words written in clean black ink, for the future architect. Tina stood in the back hallway under the buzzing fluorescent and read the 3 words twice. Then she folded the paper, slid it into the pocket of her white apron beside the small order pad with the pencil-drawn house, and went back out onto the floor. She smiled as she walked between the red vinyl booths. Not because she had been rescued, not because a powerful man had decided she was worth a manila folder and a key. She smiled because someone with the authority to be heard had finally said out loud, in front of witnesses, what she had known in silence for 22 years. She had never been small. The vintage jukebox in the corner clicked over to its next track. The neon in the window hummed. A family in the front booth waved her down for refills. She picked up the coffee pot from the warmer, tucked the order pad more securely into her apron pocket, and walked toward them with the steady, unhurried steps of a woman who, for the first time in her life, was walking toward something instead of away. If you want to watch all the stories without any ads and also get access to bonus scenes, extended epilogues, and exclusive spicy chapters, head over to our Patreon. Scan the QR code on the screen. The link is in the description or in the pinned comment. See you there. If this story moved you, stop for a moment and reflect. Have you ever held your head high while someone with a famous last name tried to make you small? Have you ever carried a folded bill in your apron pocket and still smiled at the next table? And when quiet authority finally spoke up for you, did you let yourself believe you were worth the silence that fell? Tell us your experiences and feelings in the comments. We read them all. And if you believe in stories about dignity, silent authority, and karma, leave a like, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and click join to become a part of our community and help the channel.